What's up guys, it's Tom with Verus Engineering, and today we're going to be installing the hood louvers for your VB WRX. So with the addition of hood louvers to your WRX hood, we're looking to increase the cooling capacity of the car as well as reduce underhood pressure. So with that, let's jump right into the install. All right, here's what you'll receive in the kit. You'll receive one hardware bag, two gurneys, one for each side, of course 2 hood louvers, one for each side, and the template for cutting the hood. All right, tools we need to get these installed. We're gonna need various drill bits. Of course, we need a drill. We'll need a 1/2" drill bit, an 11/64 drill bit, 5/32 drill bit, some touch-up paint, a ratchet, a, what is this again, 11/32 socket, 12mm socket. Of course, you're gonna want a cutoff wheel. You can also use a body saw, whatever you want to cut the hood. And you'll need something to deburr the edges. I like to use this air file, but that's up to you. All right, so first things first, we're gonna cut out the template that's provided in the kit and go ahead and attach them to the hood using some tape. You'll notice that the inside edges of the hood louver are kind of contoured to this body line that follows down towards the middle of the hood. Realistically, you can place this vent a little bit forward of what I have here or a little bit rearward of what I have here. Ultimately, that's going to be up to you. That's more of an aesthetic decision. So once you have it in the desired place, go ahead and tape them down to the hood, and then we're gonna pop the hood and work on the underside. We're gonna remove the hood from the car and do our cutting somewhere else. Okay, so while the placement of the hood vent and the cut template, the cut, all that stuff is up to you, you're kind of battling two separate things here. If I kind of split the difference between the two. If I have the hood vent right here, I do not have to cut any of the underside of the hood scoop ducting and where it mounts to the hood. If I move it over a little bit, you have to cut a little bit of the support for the hood support or the hood strut. So basically, it's up to you. Whichever one you feel was the lesser of two evils, go ahead and do that. We kind of put it here for aesthetic reasons. And what we're gonna do is trim just a little bit of this little inner support piece off for the hood support or slash strut. All right, so once we have the hood popped open, we need to disconnect the hood shocks or supports on each side, and we need to disconnect the hood itself by unbolting the 4 nuts, 2 on each side. I like to draw a ring around them with a paint marker so that when I go to put the hood back on, it goes back in the same place. You don't have to worry about the hinge and all that stuff. Latch, I mean. So in order to take the hood shocks off, get a small flathead and just pry this retaining ring off the top. You'll see like a little slot where a flathead will go or can go. Take that boy off, and then you'll be able to pull the hood support off of the ball joint. So I'm gonna go ahead and repeat the process for the other side, and then we're gonna unbolt the hood with a friend and set it down in a workable area. So I got my buddy over here. You can't see him, he's off camera. It's Justin, our super talented videographer. So now we're gonna unbolt these 12mm socket. All right, so we have the hood off the car. What we wanna do first is drill all of the tiny holes for the studs on the hood louvers themselves. We're gonna use a 5/32 drill bit, and they're called out on the template by the smaller holes that are kind of on the perimeter. The inner holes that we're gonna use a 1/2" drill bit for are just relief cuts so that we have room for a body saw or the blade of your cutoff wheel to kind of easily pass through and make the turn, as well as also creating a nice radius for your cut. I recommend center punching the inside 1/2" diameter holes that we're gonna drill. If you center punch the outside holes, the 5/32 holes, just be super careful you don't dimple the metal so that it's showing on the outside of where the hood louver is gonna sit. That being said, I'm not actually going to center punch the outer ones. I have some self-centering bits here that I like to use, but that choice is ultimately up to you. So I'm gonna get to doing this, and then we'll be back. All right, so we've got all of our holes drilled. Got the tape template taped down securely. And so now what we're going to do is go ahead and cut out the inner line on the template. Do not cut the outer line, only cut the inner line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's going to be really loud, and then we'll be back. All right, the holes are cut out for the hood louvers. So we have a top skin and a bottom skin on the hood. They're bonded together. And usually what happens is you're able to cut the top off, and then you can peel the top skin off of the bottom. So let's see if that works here. It doesn't. Just kidding. Turns out you just have to pull a lot harder than I was pulling. Basically these dots here are the bonding agent, I guess, that attaches the top skin to the bottom skin slash structure. I like to do it this way because basically what we're going to do now is make a kind of an outline of where we need to be and drill some reference holes in all the corners. And that way when we flip the hood over to cut the bottom structure out, we'll know exactly where to go. So I'm going to go ahead and peel the top skin off of the other side, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to drill these reference holes through the top. Okay, so I peeled off the top skins, and basically what we see is the underskin, like I was talking about before. What we're going to do is take our 5/32 drill bit, and against the edge of the cut on the top skin, we're going to drill straight down. Just like that. So I did one here, and what I'm going to do is do all the corners and then maybe a couple in between. And when we go to flip the hood back over and we cut this bottom skin out, we're just going to connect the dots and try to move the cut back maybe a little bit so we don't see too much from the top, and then we'll be good to go to put the hood louver in. All right, we got the hood flipped over. Take some precautions, clean the hood off. That way when you flip it over on the painted side, it doesn't get all scratched up. We put some like plastic wrap on there. You can get that stuff at Home Depot. It's just carpet protector. So yeah. Anyways, if you did it correctly, basically you should have a series of dots, holes I should say, that kind of resemble the outline of the cutout that we just made. Basically what you want to do is take a paint marker, or you can skip this step and just go ahead and start cutting if you like. What we're looking to do is basically just connect all of these holes. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side, and then we'll come back and we'll cut all of these shapes out. All right, so the holes are marked out now with a paint marker. I'm going to go ahead and cut them out. And just like that, we have everything cut out. While we're off camera, also deburred all of the edges on the bottom skin and the top skin, as well as applied touch-up paint to all the raw edges. The hood is aluminum, so that's optional for you. I like to apply black touch-up paint anyways because it matches the color of the louver and then, you know, hides the edges. Now, all the holes are drilled to 5/32 if you drilled them in the beginning. What I recommend is test fitting the hood louver at this time and making sure everything lines up. All of our holes line up as it just fell in. And so basically, if you have a situation like this, we started with 5/32 on the drill bits. You can bump out the holes that aren't fitting perfectly to 11/64, and that way you'll be able to get the hood vents to sit perfectly flush. So go ahead and do that now. Make sure your vents fit while the hood's off the car. All right, so before we put this back on the car, what we did was just use some spray paint, black spray paint, kind of get the inside of the hood, just so that we don't see any of this like beige primer stuff that is applied at the factory, and just gives it a cleaner look. So that being done, we're gonna go ahead and put this thing on the car. We got our helper. All right, hood's on the car, hood vent in hand, louver in hand. we're going to go ahead and set this into the hood. You can do this off the car if you like. I just prefer to do it this way. I don't have to worry about the hood moving around. Cool. As you're opening the hood, just make sure you have a hand on it so that it doesn't fall out. Begin starting the nuts that are included in the hardware kit onto all of the studs except the front three. 1, 2, 3. Once you get to the front three, which is where we're going to install the gurney, do that real quick. You want to make sure that the gurney is sandwiching the hood material with the hood vent. And they also are directional. And so if you look at this kind of flange area with the 3 bolt holes, they're going to be pointed towards the front of the car. Slide it in from the top. Of course, I grabbed the wrong one. Get it over the 3 studs and go ahead and start 3 more of the nuts. We're going to go ahead and start all of these nuts, and then we're going to snug them up. When you go to snug them up, make sure you bottom them and then give them maybe 1/8 of a turn, and that's it. You don't want to go any further than that. You can end up pulling the stud through the hood louver itself, or you could end up dimpling the hood, and then you have this really weird Ripley effect. That's not something you want either. So I'm going to go ahead and start these. We'll put it on fast forward, and you can watch me tighten them up. All right, guys, so that is the hood louver install for the VB WRX. Obviously, you want to repeat the same process for tightening the nuts on the opposite side of the car. And once you have that done, that's the end of the install. So as always, it's been a pleasure. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, be sure to email us at sales@verus-engineering.com. And until next time, we'll see you later.